Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Please put your name and where you're joining, and your business and product in the chat. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are going to wait a few seconds here for more folks to join. So in the meantime, as you are joining, please put your name and where you're from and your product or business in the chat. I'm joining here from Denver, and we have Ben and Elliot here joining from New York City. All right, just going to wait a few more seconds for more folks to join. Welcome, everyone. If you are just joining us, please put your name and where you're from in the chat, as well as your business. All right, let's get started. All right, hello, everyone. My name is Erica Thompson. I am the Senior Director of Creative Product here at Suna. Welcome to another edition of our Holiday Content Webinar Series. We are going to be live every Wednesday from now until October, where we're going to be sharing tips and tricks from e-commerce experts and brand marketers. Now today, I am joined by two amazing e-com experts, Ben and Elliot from Platter. Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having us today, Erica. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. Well, Platter is a Shopify theme, an app bundle with over 40 built-in features designed to increase average order value, conversion rate, and really drive that profit. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. Something that I really love the most about Platter is that you guys really reduce the complexity of building a Shopify store. I love that. And I know you guys have some secrets up your sleeve, so I'm super excited to jump in. And so, yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, I mean, happy to give a little bit of a backstory about how we got to where we are today with Platter. I would say over the last 3 years, we've really been able to synthesize the business down to a couple core theses and beliefs in terms of what we're building and why we're building it. So the first one is that our belief is a lot of apps in the Shopify ecosystem are features, not products. And so as brands scale, they get stuck with way too many apps on their storefront, which is a slower website and worse conversion. And the second piece to it is the fundamental misalignment between development agencies and brands, because dev agencies get paid for their time. So they're incentivized to make things really complicated and expensive. And so what we've done over the last 3 years is built a lot of the most popular functionality into one solution, which is a theme and app bundle, as you mentioned, to unify your app stack and then layer in best practices around how to increase your average order value and conversion rate so we can quantify making you money and saving you money at the same time. So I think to synthesize that in layman's terms, it's basically just debunking the myth that building a high converting e-commerce storefront is really expensive and takes a long time, because that's not true. That's just what the status quo has been to date. So we've simplified that process by productizing parts of the process of building that storefront so we can do it cheaper and faster without compromising quality.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that really is amazing. And for those folks who just joined, hello, welcome. Please put your name and where you're from in the chat. We're joined here by Ben and Elliot from Platter. They are two extremely talented e-com experts. And yeah, we're excited to jump in and talk some tips and tricks.
Yeah, let's just say that intro was so good, Ben. For me, like the last a sales pitch, right? I feel like, you know how everyone has the same scar in their knee from riding a bike? It's so weird. Like everyone has the exact same one. I feel like if you've built a Shopify store, that's the equivalent. It's so painful. We all have scar tissue from doing it. And it's like, this is the most crucial part about having a brand. And yet until now, not to speak my own book, I don't feel like there was a really easy way to do it. So we're going to show you a bunch of the tips and tricks that we figured out along the way.
I think what we realized in the early days, when you ask people, like, how did you get to where you got to with your existing storefront? the common answer was just, I asked the person next to me who also had a store, like, what did they do? And they'll tell you the same thing. They asked the person next to them. And so you kind of just go down this rabbit hole of doing what the person next to you did. Not necessarily is that the best way to do it, but I think there's a lack of information around the right way to be doing things. And so when you don't have access to that, you just do what the one person told you to do, regardless if you know it to be true or not, to be the best option. And so because of that, I think there's been a lot of people who've been burned from unethical behaviors or have paid a lot of money to learn the hard way around doing something that could have been done in a much more simpler fashion. So I think a big part of our mission with Platter is also around education for people to just have a better understanding of what else is out there and how things can be done in terms of how you build an e-commerce storefront.
Should we get into the juicy bits?
Let's do it.
Cool. So we're going to jump right into conversion tips to begin with. After that, we're going to cover some things you should probably avoid that are secretly or obviously killing your conversions. And then we're going to try to wrap up with a live Q&A, and use the chat to just drop a link to your e-commerce store as we're going. We'll go through and try to do a couple live teardowns and give our suggestions to you on the webinar.
I think a really good place to start would just be to talk about high level, how we think about analyzing a storefront in terms of just the website funnel, right? So there's 5 stages to a website funnel in terms of how we define it, which is your first impression, viewing the product, starting the checkout, upsells and incentives, and then the purchase. And then within every stage of the funnel, there's different pages and different features that you can be utilizing to maximize at every step of the journey. And so I think what we can do right now is just walk through high level some of the different features and examples of really efficient ways to illustrate products to drive people through the conversion funnel.
Are you able to see my screen, or can you? Yeah. Cool. So I'll just keep sharing different pages, and if you guys could add that to this stage, that'd be great. So off the bat, let's talk about mega menus. What can you tell us about those, Ben?
Yeah, so we're a huge fan of using a mega menu for a couple of reasons. I think the first thing we've learned about consumers, just being transparent and blunt, is that they're lazy. Right? You don't want to force people to have to think more than they need to. You want to guide them through the shopping journey. And the first step of that shopping journey is landing on the homepage and clicking on the menu. We also know that a lot of people want to see visuals because using imagery allows them to get a better understanding of what they're looking for when they're shopping through the journey. And so, as mentioned, a mega menu is a really effective way to do so. There's a lot of different menus you can use depending on the size of your catalog. And we can walk through a couple different examples here. I think this first one with Tile Cloud is a really good example. So if you go over to Shop Tiles or Shop Bathware, you can see this is a brand that has a ton of different SKUs, and trying to digest everything that they offer by just looking at a drop-down menu that, has 10, 20, 30, 40 line items can just be very overwhelming. And ultimately, it doesn't really add value to you as a consumer because you don't really know what you're looking at when you're just reading text. So it makes it hard to navigate the website. But through utilizing imagery and colorways like this mega menu you can see here, it's a lot more digestible in the sense that you can get to where you want to go faster and sift through a really potentially overwhelming catalog that's really large in a way that has minimal friction. And then I think the other thing to note as well is what's great about a mega menu is you can utilize it in a lot of different ways, whether you want to show off multiple different collections, if you want to show multiple different SKUs within a collection. I think, Elliot, if you want to pull up, I'm trying to remember. I think it was the O Norman one was the one that I was thinking of as showing another example of a mega menu. So Tile Cloud is a really great example for a really large catalog. But if you look at a brand like O Norman, which for those of you watching, if you know who Kaylee Cuoco is from The Big Bang Theory, this is her pet brand. If you hover over shop, you'll see what they do is they feature 2 hero products on the right side of their menu. So on the left side, they're giving you the different collections that you can click into. But on the right side, they're utilizing this real estate to highlight their main SKUs. And ultimately, from a brand's perspective, you can use this as an opportunity to guide your customer to where you want them to go. So if you have like a best-selling product, for example, instead of burying it on your website and making it really hard for your consumer to find it, you should try to make it front and center. So it's something top of mind for them when they land on the website and click on the menu.
Coming to another example here that I really like that we launched recently is Free Will Haircare. Yeah.
So Mario just put a great question in the chat that I'll answer because it's top of mind right now. So Mario's question was, how would you approach a mega menu option for a mobile experience? That's a really good question, Mario. I would say the most important component to the menu option for mobile, and Elliot, you can actually probably just, I don't know if it'll be challenging to share your screen by putting it in mobile view. What's really important to highlight as far as the menu on mobile is to think about the ability to nest products within each other. So if you see here next to the shop by, there's like this plus sign. If you click on shop by, it will drop down and it will allow you to filter by hair type, category, collection. And then if you click it, it will take you one step further by the color of hair, type of hair. So the most important thing for a mobile mega menu is to nest, I guess, like collections within categories and SKUs within collections. Again, making it really easy for a consumer, even on mobile, to get to where they want to go. Instead of you just making the menu be one button is like a high level collection or a category that is then taking you to a page where then you have to go and try and search for the product you're looking for. Hopefully that answers your question, Mario. But I think the other thing to note as well with Free Will, there's a lot of flexibility within a mega menu in terms of how you utilize it, both from the perspective of using imagery versus just text, and then using like icons and color as a means to delineate between different options. So I think Free Will has a really unique collection drop down on the right side of their menu where it's very digestible. They're very distinct. And it's very clear that it is the section on the menu that the brand is intentionally driving your eyes to pay attention to because they're making it pop more than any other column on the menu.
Yeah, I like to think of navigation as it's so important, but people kind of do it once when they set up their store or something and then kind of forget about it while they focus on other content. But if you step back for a second and really think about it, you're not going to buy a product if you can't find the right one. So navigation is like, it's at the top of your page for a reason. It is like the beginning of every shopping journey. Which is a good segue into our next topic, which is product cards. And possibly before we jump into some examples, like what is a product card, Ben, and why does it matter?
So a product card is basically the first preview that a consumer who's landing on the website will get of any product, right? A product card is also oftentimes, from what we see, an underutilized component on the website to display more information. So think of it as like the preview of an item before you decide if you actually want to click into it and learn more about it. So that can be everything from utilizing imagery to title, price, reviews. I personally love the NeuroGum product card. I think if you scroll down, yeah, so you can see here they do a couple different things that are really unique in their product card. So the first one is something that a lot of brands don't do, which I personally don't understand, is utilize the second image on hover functionality. It's a really great opportunity for you to show more information about a product without having to take up additional real estate in terms of like a vertical or horizontal scroll. So in this instance for NeuroGum, what they're doing is actually showing data. Another great example for a lot of supplement brands would be maybe like a nutrition label. I'm pretty sure another example of that. Yeah, if you want to, Elliot, if you also, after we show this, you can pull up the Caged website. I know they show the supplement facts. But the other thing to note here on this product card, if you click back to NeuroGum for 1 second, you'll see a couple other components. So the first one is they're including reviews on their product card, which a lot of brands don't do. Something to keep in mind here, and I would say one of the high level recommendations that we make to a lot of brands when they ask us like what are low lift ways to move the needle from a conversion perspective, social proof is usually one of the first answers that you get. By looking at a product that you've maybe never heard of and seeing that over 3,000 people have rated it almost 5 stars, right away, that gives you confidence that it's like a real product that has a lot of legs and validity behind it. Ultimately, the goal of a product card is just to get you curious enough to click into the product to view more. However, if you have very a large distinction between like your hero SKUs and others, another way to utilize your product card is to allow consumers, high intent consumers specifically, to be able to transact as fast as possible in the conversion funnel. So you can see here, NeuroGum has the Shop Now button. If you click on that, which takes you to the product page. But if you go back to Caged and you scroll down below the collections, and then scroll horizontally to the right, you'll see here that they have a product. Keep going. They have a product that just says add to cart. So this is a product card where they're using a badge that says on sale, and they're also just giving you an add to cart option immediately. So the idea here is to cater to a high intent shopper who feels like they got all the information they needed by viewing the product card. And so if they're ready to buy, don't force them to have to load more pages in order to make that purchase. By providing them optionality at every step of the funnel, just gives you an increased likelihood as the brand to be able to capture that consumer as a buyer of your product.
I would say like one of the weirdest consistent mistakes I see on storefronts is that their product cards aren't shoppable. It's so weird to me. It's like you're using the space on a home page or maybe a collection page, and you're forcing people to click through another page, which can cause all sorts of drop-offs. You know, maybe their internet connection is slow because they're on a train. Maybe they're just fed up and they don't want to go through an entire product page after they click it. So when in doubt, you probably should put more shoppable buttons throughout your website. Whenever you have a product card, try to add an either like, there's a good example with this Caged one, either like a quick view or that direct add to cart if there aren't like many variants or flavors or something that someone has to select, like a size or something. In the case of the creatine on the Caged example, they have one size for the product, right? There's not any flavors, it's the unflavored one. So it just makes sense to have a really quick add to cart button. Of course, if you still click on the title of the product or the image, you'll be able to go to the page and shop that as well. And I think many customers have like really like, they understand that behavior.
Yeah, I think it's about the way that we think about it is by giving your high intent shoppers the optionality to get through the conversion funnel as quick as possible is the best thing you can do. And for those that want more information, they'll go out of their way to get more. Sean Santiago asked, how do those hover state work on mobile? It's a really good question. So if you actually pull up the NeuroGum website on your phone, Sean, you can see that the way that it works is if you tap once on the image, it will switch to the image. It switched to the second image in the product card. But and obviously when you're scrolling on the computer with a mouse, it's giving you a hover state, but on your phone, it's actually a tap. And then if you double click into the image or the on the product card, it will actually take you to the product page. So the short answer is just one tap on the product image in the product card on your mobile will allow you to see a second image.
And shameless plug for Suna here. You can pick what that second image is. Obviously, it's like relevant to your category, right? So if you're doing like apparel or maybe jewelry or something, have that hover image be like a lifestyle pic that really shows maybe how it's styled, just so that the majority of product shots are just like a white background and a necklace, for example. But you can use that space to really show the product off. In the case of this, it's gum or a supplement. You want to show the health benefits or the science behind it. So get creative with your hover states and don't just use like a random photo.
Elliot, do you want to shift gears to the buy box?
For sure. So this is my favorite section of any page. Everyone talks about landing pages and product pages being the best place to send consumers because they have the highest conversion. But not a lot of people explain why. And in my honest opinion, I think it's because of the buy box. So Ben, can you explain a little bit like what the buy box is, maybe like the anatomy and sections of it, must-haves, mistakes, all of the above?
Yeah, so the buy box is basically the way I would describe it is like the hero section of a product page. So it's that first section that you land on where traditionally you're going to see imagery of the product and then information like the title, the price, the different SKU options, the different pricing options, and then like the add to cart or buy now button. I would say that we see a lot of buy boxes that, number one, are extremely confusing, where the information hierarchy is clearly not intentionally thought through. And then the second piece of it as well is not necessarily are they showing the right information. And it's really challenging to strike a balance between not showing too much information, but also making sure you're showing the right information, enough of it to get someone to buy. So like in this example here with NeuroGum, there's a couple really important components to call out. So the first one is the actual name of the product. I know it seems like an underrated component, but it speaks very specifically to what it is, right? Like if it just said gum, you wouldn't entirely know what's different about it. Why should I buy this product? And so not only do they use energy and focus gum, but then they have a secondary subheader that leans into the specific traits that you're going to see benefits from by chewing the gum. And then if you go beyond that, a couple other things to highlight. So the first one is, again, reviews. I'm always a huge proponent of saying that you can never have too much social proof on a website. I'd always err on the side of having too much versus not enough. I think the other thing that they do here that's very unique to NeuroGum, and not every product category can do this, but they actually give you a breakdown of the per piece price depending on which pack you have selected. So Elliot, if you click on the 12 pack, you'll see that it actually changes the price of the SKU to 37 cents per piece. The other thing they do a really good job of is all the different potential variables in making your selection are very clear in terms of the selections you need to make. So do you want to get gum or mints? Do you want to get peppermint or cinnamon? How many pieces do you want in your pack? We've seen all different shapes of and sizes of ways people try to illustrate optionality with like drop down menus that have like 20 options with each of these combinations included in there. And then you'll also see a couple other subtle pieces of information on here are the tags that say bestseller, best value, or also the percentage savings that you get depending on a pack that you buy. A lot of that leans into consumer behavior in terms of, again, driving the consumer to where you want them to go. And then another thing to notice here is you see they have the subscribe and save option and the one-time option. It's important to note that it's not a coincidence that the subscribe and save is the default selector and it's above the one-time purchase in the hierarchy. That is because their goal is to maximize the number of purchasers they can turn into subscribers of products. And then going a little bit beyond that, you'll see that they offer an upsell product. So in this case, it's a free tin. We are a huge fan of either offering a free product or putting upsells in the buy box because it's a really good way to add low ticket, high impulse purchase products around the buy box as a means to try and increase average order value. And then if you scroll a little bit more down, you'll see it. This is another really important call out, is where you see the description. Any content information that we include in the buy box is typically in the form of a minimized text dropdown. So one of the big mistakes we often see brands make is they just put paragraph after paragraph of information, and it's information overload for a consumer that's landing at the buy box of a page. The way that we like to describe it is provide the consumer with optionality. So you're giving them all the information they might want, but you're not forcing them to consume it. So by having the minimized drop down, if they don't want to read the description, they can just minimize it. But if they want to read it, it's there for them. And the last thing that I'll add is, as you see on the left side, the image scroll that Elliot's going through, NeuroGum does a really good job of utilizing the imagery as a means to communicate more than just a picture of the product itself by showing data, facts, and more social proof around why this product works and why you should buy it.
That's only above the fold. I mean, I know that we go through the images as you scroll, but there's an entire like rest of the page here, right? So for some people, everything in the buy box should have everything you need to make a purchasing decision. There, of course, will be some people that need more, and they're going to scroll down lower, and maybe they need even more information about the ingredients or how it's sourced or any evidence behind the claims. Maybe they want to scroll all the way down and see the comparison table. Those are expectations now, and everyone should have that. But make sure that your buy box section has all the information that a customer needs to make an informed purchase.
Elliot, do you want to pull up the Slumberkins link that I shared with you?
Yeah.
I want to show a second example of the buy box that's a non-supplement brand, because I do think that there tends to be a lot more content required in an instance like this. So I do think it's important to show a second example, because in this other example that you'll see, it's going to maintain the same principles around what elements to include in the buy box, but you'll notice that it's being done in a slightly different way, which shows that there is more than one way to display information. It's just important that you ensure that you have all the core pillars of what's required. So again, you can see here, they actually have so emotional regulation, basically like the characteristic that this product is going to help with. They actually put that before the title, which is opposite of what NeuroGum does. But again, they also have the reviews number for social proof. They put the price, but it's very different because there's not multiple different variants of the SKU, right? It's just one SKU. So all they have is the quick add to cart button. And then right below that, one of the other interesting things they do, you can see they show the reasons to love emojis. So it says skill building, high certifications, free US shipping, $75 or more. It's a really unique way to integrate in more information that you think the consumer is going to need to get over the edge to make the purchase. And then below that is a better example of what we were alluding to around upselling products in the buy box, and then including all the information that a consumer might want, but in the form of a minimized text dropdown to not force them to consume it. There's one really important note to talk about here on the pairs with. So if you notice here with the upsells in the buy box, if you click view and click add to cart, and then click off of the cart drawer, you notice that we don't take the consumer backwards in the conversion funnel. Oftentimes, it's a huge mistake we see brands make where they'll put an upsell in the buy box of the product page, but what they'll do is instead of making that view button take you to a quick view of the product, it will actually drive you to that other product page, which is a really bad strategy because odds are the product in the upsell below the fold is going to be a cheaper item than the actual product page that they're on. So what you're actually doing is making it harder for them to buy, and you're increasing the likelihood that their AOV is going to be lower because you're driving them away from the main product page to a secondary page for a cheaper item.
I love that. And our next section we're going to be talking about are slide out carts, which we've shown in a few of these examples, but I'm going to use the caged one as a basis here. So what are slide out carts, and what is the advantage over using like an out of the box theme cart that comes with most Shopify stores?
So a slide out cart is essentially the cart drawer that you'll see pop out on the right side of the page when you add a product to your cart. The main significance of a slide out cart is around this belief that adding additional clicks to the conversion funnel is going to result in a reduction in conversion with a large enough data set and enough consumers. And so what you're able to do here, reduce the number of clicks and also reduce the number of page loads. So by utilizing a cart drawer, what you can do is give the consumer the opportunity to not only add additional products to their basket, but also check out without having to load another page. So you'll see here the cage cart drawer. Not only does it not require a page load to check out, but you can do a lot of other really cool things within the cart drawer. In this example, there's the incentive loading bar to incentivize you to purchase more to unlock free shipping. You also can show upsells, which you'll see here, the Hydration Elite Sample Pack, which again, it's very important to note that it's just a quick view modal and it's not sending you backwards in the conversion funnel. This is another place where we see a lot of brands put upsells in the cart, but they send you backwards to the product page. You never want to send someone backwards in the conversion funnel because it just increases the chances that they never go back and make a purchase. There's other things you can do inside of a cart drawer that not every brand does, but an example would be making a gift with purchase. So Elliot, if you actually want to pull up the Slumberkins cart again, we can show another example of a cart drawer here where they do a couple interesting things. They use the gift with purchase option. If you scroll down, you'll see they use the gift with purchase option. The other thing that they do here is they use a strike through price on the upsell products in the cart, which again is another consumer behavior tactic to basically make the consumer feel like they're getting a discount at the last minute, which will ideally incentivize them to add another product to the basket. By utilizing this incentive bar and the upsells, it's a really good way to try to drive your average order value up.
Yeah, there's a couple of tactics here. Like you have the banner calling out free shipping over 75. You have the incentive progress bar to remind that kind of gamifies the whole thing. And then you have the upsells in there, which is like kind of like a trifecta of AOV tactics in one place. What about on the topic of like upsells and cross sells? What about bundle builders?
Yeah, so bundle builders are a really good way to gamify the shopping experience and basically utilize consumer behavior and consumer psychology to try and increase the average order value and the number of SKUs that a consumer is going to put in their basket. I think there's a couple really cool bundles we can show. We could walk through the House of Max, and then I think Free Will has another really cool one. So there's different options in terms of how you can utilize a bundle builder. You can do it where it's just based on a number of products. You can also have bundles where it's multi-step. So I think the Free Will one, Elliot, is a really good example where it's a beauty products or beauty brand, where like there's different types of product that they have. And so they leverage the idea of building out your hair routine in the form of a bundle. So if you scroll down, you'll see here that it says like step 1 is to add your cleansing product. So if you just click add to bundle on any of the products in the top row and then continue to scroll down on the left side, you'll get to the second step with it, which is conditioning. And then if you continue scrolling down below that, you have third step, which is treatments. And if you scroll down even more, fourth step is styling. And I don't remember if you keep scrolling if they have a fifth step or not. But the idea here is to essentially take you through a subsequent list of all the different steps in the process and really just encouraging you to add more products. And if you see on the right where it says 5 items, 20% off, and you click on that drop down, you can actually see we're giving you the option to increase your percentage off by adding more products to the cart. And then you'll also see there's a free gift at the bottom, which is the hair and scalp massager. If you add enough items to the cart, if you think about it and you want your consumer to buy multiple products, this is a really, really strong way to incentivize them to do so, but also use storytelling as a means to drive them through this funnel by making a consumer feel like they need to add one SKU or more from every step in their, in this case, their hair routine, to make it feel like they made a complete purchase. But ultimately, we are a huge proponent in using gamified bundle builders instead of pre-made bundles, because again, it's about giving the consumer optionality and allowing them to decide what products they want in their bundle.
Yeah, and the one click just add to cart is so clean, right? Because you can see all the cart products are in here. They're calling out the free shipping, and even the strike through sounds pretty significant. Like I'm getting all these products for just $91 with free shipping, and I get a free scalp rubber. Like think about the difficulty if you're a brand to go from, let's say your average product per order is like 2. To get that up typically can be quite difficult unless you're building like digital bundles or you have a campaign or something. But this is like a really easy way to introduce a shop as you want it kind of bundle solution to help get that number up.
I saw that Sean asked a question that the cart seems quite crowded. Will users get confused or overwhelmed? Sean, I think the answer to your question is really around understanding your consumer behavior and catering to their experience. You'll notice that we have a lot of different brands who utilize the cart drawer, but some use upsells, some don't. Some use incentive bars, some don't. Some use gift with purchase, some don't. And again, it's really around giving them optionality to craft their own user experience. I think ultimately, if the components inside your cart are an incentive bar, the actual SKUs you're planning to purchase and upsells, it tends to be extremely effective. And again, there's a lot of different ways you can go about architecting it. As simple as like the upsells that you see on this cart, we have a couple brands that utilize a horizontal scroll for upsell products as well. So I think the answer to your question without having any data or context would really be to just test a couple different versions of it and see which one's the most effective. You're on mute, Elliot.
We didn't even call out how easy it is here using the drop down to change the modality from like a one-time purchase to subscribe. Not only to change to subscribe, you can pick the period for auto shipping as well, which is really cool, especially for styling. I mean, I have my hair product on my desk and I run out of it like 30 days, like clockwork. So that's something that I would use.
Awesome. All right. I know in spirit of time, we can keep moving here. Want to talk about just small things that you can do to really move the needle for those listening, because I know there's probably a couple different components that we went over today that can feel a little bit daunting or overwhelming because there's big changes required. Think high level, what are the lowest touch, highest impact ways to increase conversion, average order value? I think the first one, again, independent of Suna, but it is so true, is that you need quality assets on your website. We've had brands come to us who have the most amazing conversion funnel when you look at it from like a technical and architectural perspective, but have really bad assets, really bad product images, really bad lifestyle images. That is a huge part of social proof, which is the second thing I was going to mention is if you don't have enough social proof on your website, that can be a huge reason that you're not seeing the numbers that you want to. Social proof can mean a lot of different things, whether it's imagery, using reviews, using shoppable videos to have testimonials, putting reasons to love sections on your website, really just overwhelming someone who's landing on your website for the first time, in the sense that after viewing a product page or a homepage for a couple seconds, they can garner up enough conviction based on other people's actions and words about the product to the point that they feel comfortable buying that product themselves. Another thing that I'll add in terms of low touch ways to make an impact, adding sticky CTAs, sticky call to action button on your product pages is another thing worth testing. I won't say that it works for every category because it depends on your price point, depends on your SKU count, but just conceptually, by reducing the friction in the process of making a purchase, if you use a sticky call to action button, I don't know, Elliot, if you want to pull one up really quick so people can see what we're referencing. it really allows you to give the consumer an easy way to make a purchase at any point in their shopping journey. So the example here would be if they're scrolling down a product page, learning more about the product, and they get to the bottom of the page and decide they're ready to buy. Instead of forcing them to scroll all the way back up to the top of the page to make the purchase, they can click add to cart at any point in that consumer journey, which again, it seems very nuanced and not a big deal. But if you can try to minimize every little piece of friction point across the entire website, and there's 30, 40, 50 different minor changes you can make like this one, the idea is that in the end you'll be able to see a meaningful impact and lift on your storefront. And then the last thing that I'll call out here, as far as small things that move the needle, if you're a subscription business or a business trying to guide most of your consumers to pick the subscription option, the subscription option should always be the default selector when someone lands on a product page. We showed you the NeuroGum product page where it seems like not a big deal, but it's a very intentional decision that when you land on the page, subscribe and save is auto selected and also above the one-time purchase.
Cool. So I think that wraps up our recommendations for things you should do to your most or like your core pages, your highest impact tactics. What about like common conversion killers that you've seen in the hundreds of brands that we've worked on?
There's a couple high level data points that stick out to me when I think about brands that are struggling with conversion. I would say the first one is a lot of brands think of their website as a brand marketing asset and not a sales channel. So I always make the joke that you can tell if a website was built by a branding agency or by a conversion focused service provider. There's a huge difference between landing on a page and someone looking at it and being like, oh, this is beautiful, because there's like all these crazy animations of things flying around the page and beautiful colors. And it's another where it's very concise, very conversion oriented, very to the point, very easy to buy. And so I think you need to ask yourself, what is the end goal with your website? And if making money is the answer, then you probably don't want a branding agency to be the last set of eyes that is looking at the conversion funnel that's being architected on your website. That's number one. I would say the second one is slow load times and having designs that are not mobile first. One of the big mistakes we see is so many brands spend so much time and money building out the website for their desktop without recognizing that probably a large majority of their traffic, above 70%, is coming through mobile. So you need to make sure that you're isolating your mobile experience, because there's going to be certain features and certain hierarchy decisions around content that need to be made that will be different on your mobile version of your website versus desktop. Another thing to add, which I've alluded to multiple times so far throughout this conversation, is oftentimes brands add way too many steps in the conversion funnel. So the best way to test this is, find a 6-year-old and find a 90-year-old and give them access to your website and see where their drop off is on the website. Like, how easy is it to actually land on a homepage and make a purchase? If you make it really complicated, where there's a lot of steps in the process, at large, you're just going to see a higher drop off. So I always say that you need to cater to your high intent shoppers and give them optionality to make a purchase as soon as possible. If you think that is a behavior that a lot of your customers have. And then the last thing, which I'll reiterate that I mentioned previously, is I can't stress it enough. If you have bad assets on your website, that is the easiest thing to switch first, because without good product images and without social proof across product pages, there is not going to be enough conviction for new customers to understand your product and trust it enough to purchase it.
Yeah, I think there's 2 points there. One, in the assets, definitely reach out to Suna if you're having that issue. I've been a client when I was on the merchant side. We love sending business their way as well. I think on like a ritual you can set up is to buy from your site like once a week and really like record the whole process. And I would say like 9 times out of 10, you should be cutting steps out of that and making it faster. If you had a chart and it was like the average price of your goods, obviously if you're selling like we talked the other day about a brand that sells $25,000 bottles of wine. Their funnel, ironically, was a bit too short. It was a bit sketchy for buying a $25,000 bottle. You probably want a more involved purchasing experience. Like you can buy a Tesla online, and there's many steps to that. But if you're selling something that's like sub $100, sub $200, you can probably optimize it to be 3 clicks. So be very mindful and like go through your own funnel repeatedly and try to find things that you could optimize for. So now we want to do a mixture of, depending on what you guys want to ask, if you have an audience Q&A, or if you guys want us to just go through stores that were submitted and we can do kind of like a live teardown.
I see a couple questions that were just submitted, so I'm happy to answer these questions. And then for those of you who are still tuning in, if you want us to do a live teardown of your website, just feel free to drop the link in the chat. Let's answer McCall's question first. I don't know, Elliot, if you can like pull the question up on the screen so everyone else can see it.
I wish I could. Oh yeah, there we go.
There we go. Sticky CTA. What price points does this work better for? I would say that a sticky CTA works better for products that are typically between low to medium price points. So it's typically products that err on the side of impulse purchase and relatively cheap. So like Elliot actually brought up a really good example. Putting a sticky CTA on a product page for a $25,000 bottle of wine isn't necessary because convenience is not going to be the reason that someone makes a purchase at that price point. I would say you're looking at SKU catalogs that are anywhere from 1 to 1,000 products, and then price point wise, probably anything below $100 is a really good starting point to test out a sticky CTA. How would you recommend signaling social proof for new products without many reviews? Scott's question. Scott, this is a great question. I think there's a couple different ways you can do this. I think the first one is you can utilize video. So shoppable video is a really good example. Elliot, you want to pull up the Cage website actually? Scott, we have a shoppable video feature in our app where you can have UGC video. So it can be an influencer, a creator, or just any individual who has a video of them actually using the product. I think if you go down and scroll to the right and go to the creatine product, the fourth one to the left, the orange, go to the left, the orange. Yeah, there you go. If I remember correctly. Yeah, you can see this video they have in the bottom right corner. That's a really good way to exemplify social proof of someone actually using the product, touching it, feeling it. And then if you scroll down on this product page, I don't remember exactly what they were. Keep going, keep scrolling. So there's other sections you can see here, like reasons to love, categorized FAQs, showing the difference between products. I think like if you don't have a lot of reviews, my recommendations, as I said, would be utilizing video, utilizing reasons to love, and then using comparison charts to other products in market. Mario had a question.
I don't have a really helpful answer to that question, but if you don't have a lot of social proof for your brand, your new number one job is to get social proof for your products. So whatever your priorities are, like bump that to the top. So are you gifting products? Are you fixing your flows for purchases to optimize for reviews? That just has to be basically your number one focus.
I saw Mario asked a question, 3 clicks from PDP or 3 clicks from homepage. I'm not exactly sure what that means.
I was using a ballpark number, right? It totally depends on the product, right? Because it's not, if you have a highly customized process, let's say like you're buying a Tesla online and you're personalizing it, people don't care how many clicks, they just want to get exactly what they want. If you have something that's quite simple, it is annoying to do a lot of clicks and scrolls and everything to get to purchase it. Like think of the case of like you're buying gum. I'm buying gum. I want it to be as close to like almost like checking out at a gas station as possible. So the 3 clicks thing, it's not that 3 is the number you should keep in your brain. It's your rule of thumb should be make it simpler as often as possible.
Elliot, do you want to pick
do some
one.
pages.
Yeah, who was the? Yeah, I mean, I'll let you.
Pandas, I think was the first one. So
Pandas.
I'm sharing my. Oh, there it is.
Awesome. So we can jump right into this. I mean, starting on the homepage, actually at the menu, this is a great example. I don't know, Robin, when you joined the chat, but we were talking earlier about the importance of a mega menu, especially for a brand that has a small SKU count. So in this case, from what I can see, you have 4 SKUs. You can easily utilize the mega menu option to illustrate all the different SKUs that are available to you. So if I were to hover over shop ski / snowboard right now, all it does is give me an underline and you're forcing me into a collection page. But you also have that same section right below the hero section on the homepage. So what I would do is utilize your menu in a way where you can actually illustrate the 4 items using imagery and text. So if you pull up, as an example, you can pull up the Neurogun website and hover over shop, and you'll see they do 4 different collections. But you can actually just do that in a way where you can utilize that to just show the 4 different products and use the imagery that you have to guide someone through the shopping journey. The second thing I would say is on your homepage, you show the featured products and you use the second image on hover, which is awesome. But as an example, for like the ski bindings cover, you need to ask yourself, is that second image actually providing additional value for a consumer who's unsure? Maybe in this case, it's just you want them to see the brand name, but is there a way that there's other information that you can utilize here? And then the second thing I would say about that is with 4 SKUs, you can also utilize a quick view modal to avoid forcing the consumer to go into the product page if they don't want to. By just that allows you to reduce the conversion funnel. But if you actually click into the product page, a couple things I'd call out here. So the first one is if you have any amount of reviews, improving the social proof of the product by showing the reviews. You then also have above the title, it says my store. As a consumer, I'm not really sure what that's saying to me. If you want to have content there, you can utilize breadcrumbs by just showing the pages you've clicked into. But if not, I would probably remove that. And then the other thing as well, which we touched on, you show all the information on the PDP below the buy button. But what I would do is utilize a minimize text dropdown. So instead of forcing someone to have to read all that information, you can put the information on the page in the form of the text dropdown to give them optionality if they're interested in reading more, but not necessarily forcing them to do so. And then the other thing I would say as well is you currently have 5 images in a grid format, all different sizes. And I think it's a little bit distracting on the eye of like what you should be paying attention to. So I'd recommend either utilizing a horizontal scroll or a vertical scroll and having like a preview section of the images in the left side. And then the last thing I'll add here is when you click add to cart, right now you have this little preview button that comes out where you click view cart. And once you click that, it takes you to a checkout page as opposed to utilizing the cart drawer that we talked about. So you can actually preview everything there without a page load and go right to the checkout page. So you're actually reducing the number of clicks and the conversion. One of the other things I want to note here, since I know we only have a few minutes left, so I don't think we're going to be able to get through every single website that was put in the chat. If you guys want to follow up with us after this presentation in partnership with Suna, we're willing to give a free website audit pro bono. So when you book a call, if you just say that you came through the Suna webinar, we'll give you a 30 to 35 page website audit that breaks down the entire conversion funnel on your storefront. So I want to just make a note of that now before we continue on, in case there's a couple brands that want audits that we can't get to.
Yeah, feel free to use the book an intro button or the request a free audit. We'll know where you're coming from and we'll get to work on it immediately.
I hope that was helpful, Robin. Let's move on, Elliot, in the spirit of time.
Is it T-Scarf Brooklyn?
T-Scarf Brooklyn. So starting again at the top of the page, there's a couple of things to call out here. The first one is the menu. So the way that you have your menu right now is you have multiple rows stacked on top of each other. The menu should be one horizontal row across the top of your page. So what you can do is either consolidate pages, or you can reduce the text size and put everything on it horizontally. I would probably have a drop down that consolidates process, whose art is this, and but how, and then also can spend more time going through that information to see if there's a way to consolidate those pages. I think the whose art is this and but how can be added into one page, even potentially the process as well. I would probably consolidate those all into an about us page where you can have each of those as subsections on that page. And then the same thing with, you have pillow covers, silk wool scarves, and then silk scarves. I would add those as drop downs of one collection, probably using a mega menu that we talked about. And then if you go back to the homepage, Elliot, something on here that I would think about doing is either reducing the length of the hero section or centering the CTAs in the middle of it. Right now, when I land on this page, it's not clear to me if you want me to continue to scroll because you have so much white space that's not actually being utilized. And the other thing I'll say too about your CTAs is you should have a primary CTA and a secondary CTA. Right now, it's not actually clear to me as the consumer where you want me to prioritize my time when I land on the website. And then if we continue down, let's see, maybe we can give some feedback on product page. If you go to the product page, I have similar feedback that I gave to the last brand, which is around the way that you're utilizing imagery. So right now you have a bunch of images that are all different shapes and sizes, which makes it hard to understand like where you want me to focus as the consumer. And then you're also putting a lot of the content on the right side below the buy button that can be utilized in a minimized text dropdown to give that content to the consumer if they want it. The other thing I would say is that I would probably recommend adding more reasons to love or information around like social proof of like what makes your product different, and potentially utilizing like a categorized FAQ section or some form of video format of people using it or wearing it. And then the other thing that I would recommend is potentially looking into using a bundle builder type feature, because you have a lot of similar products in different colorways. It's a great way to incentivize someone to purchase more by offering discounts in that conversion funnel. Elliot, I know we only have 3 minutes left. I think I'll add, there's probably a handful of other things that I would recommend, but in the spirit of time, we're going to try to move on to another brand.
Yeah.
What is this?
Stem supplements.
Stem supplements. Awesome. We love supplement brands. I am just pulling it up on my website. Or sorry, my computer. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to call out here, it's unclear to me. Is it only one SKU? Because in the hero section, in the menu, it says products, which to me is misleading if it's actually only one product. I know it seems like a nuanced call out, but I think it's important to note. You do a good job of having a very clear hero section to explain to me where you want me to go on your website. The other thing that I'll mention is you actually can utilize, you can probably consolidate some of the information from the ingredients page on the actual product page. Because the way that you have this set up right now is you have an ingredients page, and then you, at the bottom of the ingredients page, you have an add to cart to the actual products. But on the product page, you have like a little minimized text drop down of the ingredients. I think you have an opportunity to actually consolidate the ingredients into the products page and to change products to just product. I would simplify the website in terms of the number of pages you have. Because it's only one SKU, you can actually utilize the homepage in such a way to make it almost like a product page, which you do at the bottom of the page, which is awesome. But you don't want to mislead a consumer to think you have multiple products when you only have one, which is a reason, obviously, that a mega menu doesn't make sense. And then the other thing as well, looking at the product page, I would actually suggest flipping the total, the buy 3 with 20% off. I would potentially test putting the higher amount on the top as a means to try to make that to default, where you're giving the consumer a bigger discount. It's definitely an interesting tactic to test to see if you'll get a higher AOV. And then the other thing as well is I highly recommend having a buy now button next to add to cart, whether you're going to use Shop Pay or just any add to cart. Any buy now button. I think by giving 2 CTAs specifically with a buy now is just a way to give the consumer the option to reduce the number of clicks in the conversion funnel to make a purchase. I know we're at time here, so I apologize we got cut short. I know we had plenty of other links in the chat. Would love for you guys to submit to the website so we can walk each of you through an individual audit.
Well, Ben, Elliot, thank you so much. This is a ton of really, really fantastic information. And I got to be honest, I'm loving the live audit. Like, I think we should do another one of these where we just do live auditing, because you just learn so much, right? By viewing someone's website and kind of seeing, okay, what are some tips and tricks? What are they doing? Oh man, I think I'm doing that as well. I think the last thing I just love to ask you before we sign off here is, are there any quick wins that customers can do now for the holidays, right? Because the holidays are quickly approaching. What should the number one thing folks be doing to their stores right now?
Improve the quality of the assets on their storefronts. I know there's probably someone in the audience thinking I'm saying that just because we're doing this with Suna, but I mean it so wholeheartedly. Like, it's very disappointing for us when we see brands with a really strong conversion funnel with really poor assets, because it just doesn't do the brand justice or the product justice, because quality product assets and photos are a huge component of social proof, which I would say social proof is like my recommendation is like a low touch thing you can do now before the holidays around integrating reviews, testimonials, more imagery. And the best way to start doing that is through better assets.
Love that.
And my recommendation would be get your AOV strategy in check. Like, you can't just expect a site-wide discount or something to be the thing that drives like a kick-ass BFCM. I would say make sure you have your bundles, cross-sells, and upsells in check, and weave that into your discounting structure, right? So if you're going to have like a mega bundle, like discount that 20% and see if you can get customers that would have otherwise bought the single item into getting like a 3-pack, 4-pack, or something much larger.
Awesome. All right. Well, Elliot, I know you mentioned in the chat that you guys will do a free audit for webinar attendees. So please, you guys, take advantage of that. These two have a ton of really, really, really great information to share. And then this entire webinar video will be on our YouTube channel, as well as our website, Suna/webinars. So Elliot, Ben, thank you for your time. Appreciate you both. Take care, everyone. Thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.